I know I haven't been as active lately. I've been trying to focus on completing whole reviews before releasing their individual parts, so that you're not all stuck listening to half a review. Furthermore, I've had more responsibilities in my personal life. Unfortunately, this leaves me with long gaps between videos. As such, I've decided to start a regular series of book reviews coming out the last Saturday of each month. Most of these reviews will be relatively short, with a few more in-depth reviews here and there.
I wanna get my features in magazines. See this creature on every street, on every screen.
Coldheart Canyon by Clive Barker is a fun read about a movie star named Todd and his #1 fan Tammy getting caught up in a supernatural canyon outside Hollywood. While it is empathetic to female characters in some ways, I feel like the author doesn't really understand female personalities. The plot is complex and hard to explain, but I'll do my best to summarize.
What's in that book? Spoilers.
A 1920s film star named Katya Lupi has a reputation as a sweet, innocent girl, but she's actually an evil psychopath who hosts these creepy sex parties for celebrities at her mansion in Coldheart Canyon. That is, Coldwater Canyon, which due to her presence is nicknamed Coldheart Canyon. She holds sway over all sorts of men, including supposedly gay men, who would do anything for her in the hopes of her approval. One man, Zephyr, gives her a gift that no one else could offer, a large mural that's actually a portal to a pocket dimension called the Devil's Country, made by Lilith herself, in order to punish a group of huntsmen led by a man named Goga, who killed her satyr son, Coiffed Siphone, who they mistook for a goat. Coiffed Siphone looks like a little boy but has a huge erection. It's very freaky. She cursed the men to never leave and never die until they could catch Coiffed Siphone for the second time. The Devil's Country is a horrible perversion of Earth with horrific animals and disgusting supernatural goings-on, so this is absolute torture for the men. But Katya and her guests get a thrill out of visiting, and there are supernatural means of making them addicted to the Devil's Country. It also halts Katya's aging, which to a movie star is a godsend, so she bans everyone else from visiting the Devil's Country to keep them from taking the youth-prolonging magic that she wants for herself. Her sort of friends then become starved for the addictive magic of the Devil's Country, and they commit suicide to escape it, but they can't even escape it in death, and return as ghosts and plead with Katya to let them revisit the Devil's Country. And when she refuses, they become hostile. Zephyr wards the mansion to keep the ghosts from entering, and the ghosts hang around outside in the canyon, haunting it to such a degree that it becomes self-aware. I'll repeat that. The canyon becomes self-aware, and makes itself hard to locate like the island in Lost. The main plot takes place in the late 90s, when aging movie star Todd Pickett is told to get a facelift in order to keep the fans' interest. It goes horribly wrong, which is the nightmare of any movie star, and while he recovers, he needs a quiet hideaway to rest, where no paparazzi can get to him. At the same time, Katya starts wanting a mate, and she thinks that Todd would be perfect for her. So she has her male admirer Jerry persuade Todd's manager Maxine to use Coldwater Canyon as Todd's getaway. This positions Todd in a place of easy access for Katya to begin her seduction. You see, Katya is kind of a dominatrix. She takes Todd into one of her sex parties, having an orgy with ghosts of celebrities past. Todd falls for her charms, appreciating Katya's understanding of what it is to be a movie star judged for one's attractiveness, and he likes that Katya is attracted to him despite the bad facelift. Todd would be ensnared by Katya if not for Tammy, his obsessed fan, president of his fan club, and a frequent harasser of his. She is overweight and disrespected by her jackass of a husband, and she deals with her insecurities by imagining Todd as this awesome guy, while the book makes it clear that Todd is just a guy who happens to be famous. Through some leaps of logic, she determines that Todd is in danger, and stalkerishly comes to his rescue, following his bodyguard into the canyon. She winds up facing the bizarre Los Niños, hybrids of ghosts and animals, half human, half animal, half ghost. Yeah, that's one of the weirder parts of the book. Los Niños threaten to eat her, but she talks her way out of it by promising to get Katya out of the house where they can kill her. But then a peacock hybrid that doesn't listen to anyone scares the others away and rapes her, but doesn't kill her, and then it just leaves. While the book describes the rape as horrific, and there is a general theme about her thinking about the ways that guys have been abusive towards her, I think that it's problematic that it's not focused on very much. It's a terrible time for her, and it adds to her weariness and battle injuries in facing the canyon, but I get the feeling that this level of wear and tear could have been done just as well by her walking amidst some thorny bushes, for all it matters to the overall plot. The rape is never discussed again, and I think it should have been just as upsetting to her afterwards as the specters of Katya, Quaffsaphone, and the Devil's Country. I get the sense of the author trying to be empathetic to the female characters, but this seems like a major flaw to me. Tammy has the choice to give up, but she feels some sense of obligation to help Todd, so she approaches the mansion once again. At the same time, Katya takes Todd into the basement where she keeps the portal to the Devil's Country, because the perverted land where everything tries to kill you is the perfect spot for seduction. Tammy runs into Zephyr, who explains the backstory to her. When Katya and Todd come up from the Devil's Country, there is a falling out. Tammy persuades Todd to leave, and Katya kills Zephyr by pushing him into the Devil's Country. Tammy and Todd escape to a motel in Hollywood. Tammy gets to meet the real Todd, and after her struggles, she finds that she doesn't need her fantasy of Todd anymore, and appreciates Todd as just another human being, and befriends him. They go to Maxine's party to confront her about taking him to the canyon, and Todd is forced to reveal his bad facelift to the world, ruining his reputation. Epstad, the head of Paramount, is a total jackass to Tammy for being fat, while hypocritically not being a looker himself. I get the feeling this guy okayed the last man on planet Earth.
The lesbian conspiracy, son.
Todd beats him up because he blames him for making him get the facelift, thus ruining his career. Katya figures out where Todd would have gone, has Jerry take her there, and Katya persuades Todd to run off with her back to the canyon. Epstad, Maxine, and a handful of other people go to check out the canyon, with Tammy late on the scene. Epstad inadvertently kills one of his underlings by sending him to close the door leading to the Devil's Country. He of course enters the Devil's Country and is promptly killed by Quaffsaphone. Everyone ends up in the Devil's Country. Tammy spots Quaffsaphone around the time that Goga's men are nearby, and she decides she'll distract him long enough for Goga to close in and catch him. Because Quaffsaphone is a horny young boy, she keeps his attention by showing her breasts and letting him nuzzle them. This strikes me as similar to Nosferatu, where Lucy, or Ellen, surrenders herself to the sexualized attention of the vampire Orlok in order to complete a prophecy that kills him. There is no other option than her surrendering. She just observes Orlok's reign of terror to the point that she can bear it no longer and lets him eat her, which means rape in the metaphor. Here, there's no explicit prophecy, but sex is the game and Quaffsaphone is horny, so Tammy decides to seduce him. I kind of get the feeling that this is Tammy owning men's attention to her and appreciating her body. Quaffsaphone nicely compliments her, and she has kind of an Oprah moment with him, where he inspires her to leave her husband, and she inspires him to give himself up, so he can go home to his mommy Lilith. While I like villains having complexities and likable personalities, I don't think this is appropriate to the scene. This should be treated more as something horrific like the peacock scene. Quaffsaphone is a nasty guy, and while likable in some ways, he shouldn't be likable when he's molesting a character who is forced to seduce him by her circumstances. This whole seduction thing shouldn't exist, or it shouldn't be handled this way. Tammy doesn't really own her body and her seductiveness. She is like a rape victim who acts seductively because she feels she will be raped anyway and wants some control over how it happens. This shouldn't be the culmination of her character in the way that she acts heroically to end Lilith's curse. It's the same misogynistic writing as Nosferatu. So yeah, Quaffsaphone gives himself up. Lilith shows up. Everyone is glamored to think that she's beautiful, when the book makes it clear that she's not. There is a bit of racism, where Lilith is described as having ugly skin associated with dark, rotting flowers, when I don't believe any of the other characters were described as having dark skin. Epstad decides that he's having a lucid dream, antagonizes Lilith, and Lilith kills him. Everyone else escapes the Devil's Country before it disappears. Katya is angry that her fountain of youth is gone, and she goes on a murderous rampage. She stabs Todd, killing him, and then goes after Maxine and Tammy. Tammy removes the wards from one of the thresholds, and the ghosts enter to bask in the Devil's Country. When they find that the magic is gone, that it's just a mural, they tear Katya apart in a twisted sexual way, making her choke on her own sexual organs. And there's a misogynistic way of dispatching the main villain that I think we're supposed to applaud. She hosted sex parties, so her punishment was sexual in nature, and the reader is led to appreciate her death. But that is not okay. And then the book takes way too long to wrap up. Quoth-Sophoni molests Tammy in a hallucination that I think is more like a mental projection, and Tammy literally beats the crap out of him. Literally. I don't see the point of that scene except to reestablish Quoth-Sophoni as villainous, and Tammy is able to defeat him. It seems like a whole lot of unnecessary ugliness. Todd comes back, has a ghost with an erection. I wouldn't mention that detail, but the book never shuts up about it. And he refuses to cross over. An angel comes to clean up Coldheart Canyon, and it leads Los Niños to the other side. Todd hides from it, and Tammy tries to help him, but it doesn't work, and Todd crosses over anyway. Tammy and Maxine end up as lesbian lovers, in a plot twist that comes completely out of nowhere. And they honor Todd's memory as a person, not as a celebrity. The canyon is a thinking, intelligent being? Huh? And it hates people and will kill them all. Actually, there's no San Andreas fault, only a self-aware canyon. What? Where did this come from? Was the author high when he wrote the ending? And why didn't the angel reap it? Weird. And so concludes Coldheart Canyon. I admit it was a fun read, but there's a lot I take issue with. The author, a gay man, tries to be empathetic to both straight men and straight women, and he doesn't quite manage the latter to the degree that he succeeds with the former. It's a mistake to think that just because gay men understand the sexualities of straight women, that they understand their psychologies. Contrary to popular belief, homosexuality and transsexuality do not exist as a spectrum, but as distinct phenomena. He's still a guy, and he does a relatively good job at empathizing with women, but not good enough with the rape subject matter, and in that case he can't really fall short. From a plot standpoint, Katya is a bad villain. When it comes right down to it, she doesn't do a lot. She's initially built up as this supernatural mastermind, with the evil canyon populated by dangerous creatures, but basically she's just a scared woman holed up in a hideaway. Zephyr gets her the Devil's Country, so she has no part in its acquisition. When she has it and figures out what she has, does she really do anything bad with it? She owns something and doesn't let people use it. In this case, it's something that people are addicted to and they beg her for a fix, and she refuses them. So what? It kind of makes her a jerk, but it's her right to refuse them, because it's her stinking portal. The idea that she is some kind of monster for not giving it to them is fundamentally disrespectful of her rights to property and security. The people become ghosts and perpetually hound her, and that is what makes the canyon dangerous, not anything that she did. Why is she the villain again? Which is not to say that Katya isn't an evil psychopath. She is, but she's not hated for the right reasons. She supports rape of children. There's a brief part about her wild sex parties catering to all desires, including raping children. But like the other parts about rape, this is soon forgotten. Why isn't she hated for that? Not just not giving something she owns to people whom she has no obligation to give it to. And what are the ghosts even complaining about? It seems like aside from not getting their fix, their quality of life is unaffected by death. They can still interact with the physical world, have enjoyable sex, and even impregnate and give birth. If that is how this world works, why do we even care that they committed suicide? What's bad about that? Even the canyon's characteristics are not something that Katya expressly caused. The Devil's Country or the high concentration of ghosts caused it. Why do we care about Katya as a villain? She's just a weak human leeching magic from the Devil's Country to stay young and pretty forever, while being restrained in her mansion with the threat of ghosts and Los Niños killing her for being the quote-unquote bitch who denied them the Devil's Country. She doesn't even have TV or internet in there. The intense hatred of Katya when she's a nobody villain also comes across as misogynistic. So yeah, it's a fun read, but I have some serious issues with it. It is flawed on many levels.